Erik, I know we could talk about the three, so many other elements, but how did you feel that your team set the tone for such a turnaround from what we saw in Game 1?
Sometimes that's the playoffs, right? I mean, you know, when you have, some younger players, you just have to constantly remind them that one game is one game. Just like this win, it's just one win. Series are potentially long and they're tough, and you have to stay emotionally and mentally, stable, throughout all of it. You just have to focus on competing at a high level together, doing things that lead to winning, keeping your emotions in check, which all of it's easier said than done. But it was a very good response, just from the connectivity, the efforts, all of that, and then we also made some shots. That always looks better when you make some shots, but those are the ones that were available, and if we don't take them, then it potentially could look like Game 1, where you get jammed up late in possession. We're dealing with a very good basketball team, so are we. The margin for error both ways is small, so you have to do a lot of winning things, and we were able to do enough of them tonight.
You spoke this morning about Tyler's playmaking and growth in that area. What he did today, both with his shooting but also his passing, how important was it to have that complete of an effort from Tyler?
Yeah, it's really important, to have that kind of understanding, that you have to be open to all the things that present in a playoff game. And we need his aggressiveness, we need his scoring, we need his shooting, we need his playmaking. Depending on the possession, it could be any one of those things. But he was good on both ends of the court. He was very good defensively. He was competing on that end. A lot of winning things. I didn't even see the stat line, but I don't know how many rebounds he had. He was in there. And then, based on how we look right now, he's going to be involved one way or another, and sometimes that's going to be making the right play over and over and over if that's the right read, and he did that tonight.
And beyond the threes, you always talk to us about relief points. What Bam gave you on those jumpers that he got at times when you really needed him. Can you just talk about his overall effort and him doing him particularly well today?
Yeah, and when you talk about Bam in the playoffs, and he's one of the more decorated young players in terms of winning in the playoffs, you have to talk about a guy that does it on both ends. And he had big responsibilities, defensively. And then on the road, yes, it was really important that we had a place where we could just throw the ball and kind of get settled, especially with, they would go on runs or the crowd would get in it, and he produced. He was great, when we needed to get it settled, and he went right to his spot and was able to get some relief, points for us.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Caleb Martin's performance? Because obviously coming into this game, the whole thing around him and what happened there, but then he comes in, the ball's in his hands, they poo even louder, but still comes out and excels. Can you talk a little bit about his performance?
I mean, he's a competitor. He's the ultimate X factor, right? It doesn't always mean that he's going to score, as many as he did tonight, but he's the X factor of X factors. He's going to put his imprint on the game. He's always going to bring that competitive spirit, the leadership, his voice, that edginess. And tonight it turned out we needed those big threes and some of those scoring plays, but he had his imprint on the defensive side of the floor as well.
Coach, nice win. Did you, with the threes, it was owed to your half-court execution and also the pace of the game. You gave them different looks, pressed them sometimes. Can you talk about those two factors, please?
Well, the threes, that's how they're scheming us so far. Back in the paint and putting an extra defender in front of Tyler or Jaime or whoever is attacking the paint. And those are the available shots you have to trust, whether it's a make or a miss. If that's the right play, you have to make that play over and over and over. And we were able to do it tonight. It's easier to do it, sometimes when you're making shots. The pace, I don't know, was it frenetic? Yeah, I mean, it's playoff basketball, so you're going to try to find advantages in the margins. Both teams are, but we were able to make enough winning plays, to secure the win.
Coach, not a lot of teams are able to disrupt those catches for KP. He usually gets the ball, and then it's a matter of doubling. You guys really disrupted the rhythm of them trying to play through Porzingis. So what did you try to do as far as, like, the angles you fronted with, what kind of personnel you used that was able to disrupt him?
He's a big target, right? So it is difficult. And they have, very good spacing. They know what they're doing, and you have to make stands and make incredible efforts. And also, sometimes they have to miss. I think he had some makeable shots that he missed. That's just the name of the game sometimes in the playoffs. And we're able to get this win. We have great respect for them because they're a very good team. And we're able to get one here, and we're going to rest up, go back to our cave in Miami, and gear up for a very competitive Game 3.
Erik, wanted to ask kind of about two things, offensively, defensively, though. He said yesterday when we were there at practice, look, it's not realistic. We're not going to get up 50. I think it was 42 or 43 you got up, so maybe not quite 50. You said we're not going to limit them to 25. It wasn't quite that, but was this kind of exactly what you hoped it would look like as far as kind of pushing them out of certain spots in the mid-range? And did you guys take, like, every look you wanted as far as the threes you guys took?
Yeah, in terms of the threes, you have to take them. And based on how they were playing us the first two games, that may change Game 3. There's always going to be adjustments. What I hope for, I have no idea what I hope for. I just, did not want to get annihilated, in that department like the way we did before. But also, like, if we have to find a different solution to win, which we probably will have to, as the series goes on, then we'll be open to that as well. But we're able to get the job done tonight. It's a tough environment. Our guys responded to that and rose to the occasion, but we have to gear up for a very competitive Game 3. All right? Cool. Thank you.
Joe, what did the Heat do so well to take Kristaps out of the game at different times early on and obviously came back on late?
Just up to physicality, switching, higher pickup points. Just got to fight for spacing and fight for those two-on-ones in the screening. But, on many of the screens, they won the battle of the screens, and so we just got to fight to win those.
Joe, how would you evaluate the team's performance tonight, and what stood out to you in terms of just the overall differences that allowed the Heat to have success?
Yeah, I mean, two completely different games from Game 1 to Game 2 based on the schemes, and so we have to adjust to that. More switching on their part, higher pickup points, got to fight for spacing, less obvious two-on-ones, and so, we got to get to our spacing quick and play out of that. And defensively, obviously, they made a conscious effort, the free reign to shoot more. And I thought, most of those were, moderately to heavily contested, and so we're going to have to make the adjustment on some of those.
Yeah, Joe, I was going to ask about the volume Miami was able to generate from there, and in turn, the way they were able to limit you guys from the three-point line. How did you see that develop as the game went on?
I mean, they're more switching, less doubling, higher pickup points, and then, obviously their adjustment to shoot more. And so, we're going to have to find the balance, because a lot of those guys that made shots tonight are also good drivers, especially getting downhill. And, so we're going to have to find that balance of making sure we close out appropriately. But, we don't want to start opening up the other side of that. So that'll be the adjustment.
Yeah, what was that balance? I know you just said you felt good about the contests you got on those. But
On most of them, yeah.
What was that balance between, like you said, the drives they were going to be able to get out of those and the amount of threes they were able to hit tonight?
Yeah, I mean, that's the balance of hero Adebayo pick and roll and being shifted off those guys and getting back out to them and closing out to them. So, But when you play a little bit inefficient offense from the standpoint of fighting for your space and getting there, that puts a ton of pressure on your defense, and that's the kind of team that takes advantage of inefficient offense because of their ability, to attack at that other end. So we got to fight for the offensive execution.
Coach, was there an emphasis to get Jaylen Brown going? I know you got him in that play out of the timeout. Is it a matter, throughout that stretch, was that a matter of trying to get him going over and over, or is it just a matter of guys trying to explore the mismatch, find what's the best option, and just figure it
I think
out?
some of that was just the best option through the mismatch, and I thought he went on a good run towards the end of the first and had some good plays in the third quarter. So, he picked and chose his spots well. He was pretty efficient on the offensive end. So, just got to be better as a team, offensively executing our spacing.
Joe, those KP post-ups, especially on switches, have been kind of the safety valve and the baseline for this offense. They were doing all sorts of stuff to deny on catches, really stripping them on catches, making them uncomfortable. What did you think they did really well that maybe a lot of other teams haven't had success with? And how do you feel like you guys, as an offense, should respond over the course of the game when you see that they're getting those deflections?
Yeah, they did a good job being physical, pushing catches higher, making it difficult for us to take advantage of those switches. And as you said, that's been something that has given us a different look on the offensive end. So I think when you're in situations like that, you have to fight for your spacing. So a lot on some of those we weren't spaced well. We didn't hold the seals well. So it's just a little bit of everything. You got to be better physically holding seals, make better passes, have better spacing. Just put ourselves in position to see the 2-on-1s easier and have better execution.
Joe, they were 13 for 24 from three at halftime. We've talked this season about adjusting to when it's just an aberration, when it's just one of those nights. Did you feel like you adjusted in the second half? Because I think they made another 53% of their threes in the second half. And what could you have done differently? Because basically that was their whole strategy. Everybody knew it, that they were going to have to take a barrage of threes to keep up with you guys. Yeah,
well, so that to answer your question, that when things like that are happening, it puts more pressure on your offense. Your offense has to be more efficient. Your offense has to be more effective. And you have to look at the other side of the adjustment. And so the hero out of bio pick and roll is dangerous in itself, and you start going to switching, or you start inching out to those guys and not having shifts, and then you're making that a 2-on-2 game with their two best players. And so the first adjustment was to try to become more efficient on the offensive end. And, we were able to do that in some stretches. It was, like a 6 to 8 point game. And so it was a 2-3 possession game. So with the team shooting 55% from three and you shooting 37%, you getting more shots than them and getting outshot by 11 for it to be a 2-possession game for the majority of the fourth quarter, I think is, you're looking to just be more efficient on the offensive end. Once we got it down to like 8 to 10, then they went to the post-ups, so the out-of-bio shots, which, those are the shots you would be giving up if you went to the switching or if you went to that. So I think it just puts more pressure on your offense to be more efficient.
Why do you guys only take 32 threes as opposed to 43?
Because they switched and they didn't double as much, and they were a little bit later on their shift activity.
Is that something in Game 3 you're going to have to adjust to take more threes?
It depends. It depends on how they're playing on the offensive end. It depends on what the matchups are. But like I said, I know that's the thing. We've been built on taking what the defense gives us and being able to win in different ways. And so over the course of the season, winning the shot margin the way that we did from the free throw line and more offensive rebounds and less turnovers, like that's a recipe for long-term success. So I think that's the balance of finding where you can get better, but also not overreacting, because if you do that, it opens up more to what they're capable of. So you have to fight for that balance.
What's your mindset going into Game 3, and do you think it's perhaps good for this group to face a little adversity here after this? And you mentioned the paths that different teams take to get to a championship. Do you think it's good to face a little adversity here? Just your mindset.
To think you're going to go through a playoff series, however long it lasts, and have it's unfortunate that losing a game is adversity. I would say it's just the nature of the playoffs is adverse itself. So. To think that you're not going to have ups and downs throughout a run, you're not being realistic. So you just have to go back and look at what we did well and where we didn't, and then figure out the areas that we can improve upon. Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
Wanna try to boast at what I look like. Think I'm gonna try to wear I pull up long range. Jimmy with the heat, I'm on fire. It's NBA, I'm here,